When Sagar talked about, what they do, what Chitta does, and giving my example, Aditya comes to me and Aditya feels that he's not, enough and doing enough for that. I think Chitta is not only a mental health organization, but it's also a fortune teller when it's correctly guessing what are the problems with certain individuals. And I'm guilty of it. But then I think what Nelika told and what Sagar told, pandemic was a huge revolution in the field of mental health. I feel, I personally feel that it has revolutionized every other field. But one field it has completely reversed to 180 degrees is of mental health with respect to its awareness. A. B. Uh, the increasing number of cases with respect to mental health because of the pandemic, and it's not just because I mean serious cases like PTSD where there are people, two, three, four people from a family who have died due to COVID. That's it. These are the cases, but along with it, um, again, the people who used to perform outside very well were not able to perform in closed spaces. People had a problem staying in closed spaces. Pandemic relationships online format are completely different than an offline format. I mean, everything has been changed, and that has changed
Food,
everything. How people,
outside food doesn't taste as good in as home delivery.
it doesn't. Let me. So, I mean, people have changed their thought, right? So, when they have changed their thought, it has definitely taken a toll on their mental health. And I think, Neelika, you have covered that aspect very well, that how pandemic exactly changed what you planned first, and now what are you doing currently? And this takes us to a further question that, keeping all fingers crossed in of two hands, that pandemic ends as soon as we want it to end. What are the future plans of Chitta India? Like, where are we now heading towards? Where is Chitta India seeing themselves after, like, say, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years after from this point of time?
Right. So I think it's a very interesting question, and we already have a lot of things planned in the pipeline, and we are just waiting for things to kind of open up. Now, what we had what we had in the pre-pandemic world and what we have in the post-pandemic world, the difference is we have a community now. We have people who recognize our organization, and now we are also a registered Section 8 company. So we are a registered non-profit for that matter. So we are very excited to see how we can take the conversation. As we said, mental health is such an intimate conversation that I would like to have in a room of say 5 or 10 or 20 people, or start that conversation, have those things. So we're just very excited of the possibilities when it comes to offline events that we can do in colleges, schools, or even apart from that, what are the conversations that we can have? And apart from that, what we've talked about Indian students. So the two things we thought were huge when it comes to tackling the issue. One is the financial barrier. Second is the stigma. Stigma is something that is systemic, that needs to be removed. Like the only thing you can do is awareness, awareness, awareness. Keep making people more aware of the concepts, and that's how you do. Financial barriers. Now we can't expect mental health professionals to step up and do pro bono work all the time,
Yeah,
because this
all
is
the
how
time.
they earn their livelihood as well.
Right.
So so there is a gap that we identified, that there are psychology students who are very enthusiastic to help. Okay, but there's a catch here. Now, when it comes to psychology students, it's very similar. Like, because for a lack of a better example, it's like medical student. Like, a medical student is still not a doctor. They
Yeah.
still have to do under the supervision of a proper doctor in that sense. So we are trying to bring a similar concept with peer counseling. So peer counseling is essentially where we have developed a course of 6 modules. Actually, it's not we, it's a mental health professionals from Johns Hopkins who has developed this module for us. And so there are 6 modules that have been developed that students who decide to take part in this course will go through. They will, once they understand this course, There will be another filter that the mental health professional will apply, and they'll be like, these are the individuals who can, take up cases as a peer counselor. So then when Aditya is coming to me again, and Aditya wants emotional support, or Aditya has never, maybe has never thought about therapy or mental health care as well, and this is the first step he wants to take. So so Aditya comes to
Sagar,
me
this
and
is
tells
why
me
you
that,
say the melody line.
yeah, it's basically, so I have a melody line which is like, melody khao khud jaan jao. So
Yeah.
it's basically, once you experience what happens, you will know what we are talking about. So essentially, you come to me, a peer counselor takes your sessions for a limited session. It's not a permanent solution. We will actively encourage you to go to a mental health professional, because the services that you get there, compared to the services that you're getting in peer counselors, the peer counselors have a very limited scope of work. Like, this is like, if you're coming to a peer counselor, God forbid, saying that, hey, I'm planning to end my life, or I'm suicidal, then the peer counselor is not qualified enough to take that case up. Then that
Right.
immediately has to go to a mental health professional. Even if it's something as serious as, depression. Depression is something, is a word that's thrown around, but depression is a major issue. So if
Yeah.
you are actually diagnosed with depression, again, the peer counselor cannot take it. But say I had a bad day at work. Okay, I am burnt out. I just want to vent my frustration about my boss to somebody, and I just want to feel heard. Okay, and sometimes friends are not able to do that.
Right.
Friends want to give you advice. Ye kar, wo kar. I am not asking for advice. I am asking to be heard and to be given a different perspective. And I want somebody to empathize with me. So
Yeah.
that's what these peer counselors are trained for. So once you have these sessions with a peer counselor, we actively encourage you to seek help if you need it with a mental health professional for that matter. So peer counseling is something that we have been working on, and we plan to release very soon. So that's something that we're doing. And offline events are something that I think me and Nalika are waiting for.
Very excited
Yes.
about, yeah.
The minute
Yes.
it becomes, because that also becomes a area from where Chitta can make itself sustainable. Like, as I said, money is an extremely important part of making mental health care accessible. So
I
if somebody of the likes of you can help me raise funds for Chitta by coming to an event where I'm giving you something, where you get some active conversations, some networking, or something that happens there, then you'll be more than happy to, give me money for a cause. So fundraising is something that we are actively looking at, because the more funds we raise, the more we can scale the operation, the more people we can impact. We also are looking to open up channels, regional language channels, like in Hindi, in Marathi, so that we are able
To
to reach
reach,
out.
the low, yeah, the lower economic strata and people who don't have that. So as Sagar mentioned, we have peer counseling. We have a peer counseling not just for like the part where we address students who don't want to commit to therapy but just want to explore it. We're also doing it for psychology students because they don't have enough resources to put their theoretical knowledge into practical use. So that's
Mhm.
one reason we're doing peer counseling. Second, another thing is that we've always followed the strategy. We call it the crawl, walk, and run strategy. So that's how we want to expand eventually. And right now, currently, if I'm talking about the present, we're running an emotional support helpline where we are sponsoring it. So it's free of cost. Anyone who's a COVID positive patient can contact us on the numbers given on any of our social media handles. You can find the post, you can contact us. We will get you in touch with a mental health professional for a 30-minute emotional support call, free of cost, between 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. So that's something that we're doing, and we want to do these kind of activities as well in the future, do online and offline events. And fundraising is a major part of it. And another part would be, eventually, this is not in the near future, but it's definitely a part of our goal. That is policy. The Mental Health Act of India, there are a lot of ambiguities, loopholes, and I think that's only because no one really gave that much importance to it so far. But if we ever get an opportunity, we would like to get into the policy bit as well, and explore that part. So those would be the plans.
Absolutely. I think like when I went through the, I'm not a lawyer I'm not even studying law, but when I went through the Mental Health Act of 2017, it was very clear that by design it was left ambiguous, and there were a lot of things that were missing from the policy itself. But I think there the focus is shifting. I think the government will bring amendments soon. I hope it does. And it's not covered in insurance, in your health insurance. I mean, it's ideally should be covered. Mental health should be covered, but it's something that's not covered in anybody's insurance. Like me and Nalika were in a different podcast, which was basically high expectations. It was Asians in Britain, so they were talking about
Oh,
mental health in there in Britain as well. And for them, mental health is covered. It's covered in their
yeah,
universal healthcare. So it becomes very easy for them to. Then the problem is not accessibility, but the problem is when do I approach whom do I like when do I approach a mental health professional? When is my problem serious enough for me to approach a mental health professional? The spoiler there is no right time. Like if you feel like you want to
right.
probably talk to somebody, you should. And so universal healthcare is like a distant dream for India for multiple reasons. But at least getting it covered in your basic health insurance, like if I've bought a health insurance, I should be no, it should be covered. And the registration. So in US, registering mental health professionals, like they need to have a license and everything. But in India, the RCI license that these mental health professionals get, they change rules like every year. Every year there are some rules that change, and that becomes extremely confusing for mental health professionals to follow. Like there is no set license procedure like there is for a doctor or something like that, or for a lawyer for that matter. So that regulatory
Let's not talk
body
about
is
the Bar Council of India. It's, I mean,
okay,
I still have to
okay,
graduate
okay.
from it. I still have to get a license from them.
You will. Don't worry. I'm sure they know that you're an asset. Uh, but the fact is that there's a lot of work that needs to be done there, because right now we have counseling psychologists, we have clinical psychologists. Clinical psychologists are the ones who are registered under RCI, but that doesn't mean counseling psychologists cannot practice. So why don't you give them official recognition as well? Because they've studied as well. They've studied the same thing. There are some minor differences here and there. So I
So
think
basically, the ambiguity is yeah,
Right.
there's a lot
something
of
that we want to.
conversations that need to happen there as well.
See, I'll tell you this. I mean, when you enter into policy and law, because that is something which we do at Bharat Bhagya Vidhata, with analyze, we have three now dedicated segments. One is international relations, there's law, and there's politics. But I'll tell you,
Right.
the lawmaking in India is very poor, and the problem arises because the lawmakers don't really know themselves that they have to make laws, right?
Okay.
So you don't know, and you can't expect a person in your constituency or member of parliament to know what are the tenets of making a law, or the science which goes behind making a law. How is interpretation going to happen? Everything happens by the bureaucrats, and the
Right.
lawmakers
Right.
are just for the namesake. I mean, I'm sure that two bureaucrats, one bureaucratic mental health professional who is definitely very conservative about mental health, have made this law. I'm very sure, because that is how lawmaking in India works.
Right.
Not more than 9 or 10 people are involved in a lawmaking as big as even IBC, right? Insolvency and
Oh.
Bankruptcy Act is such a huge code, but
Yeah.
I know from sources that there were not more than 12 people involved in making this law, including experts. So
So
you
that
can,
becomes like an echo chamber. Like everybody is saying the same thing, or and people will have similar ideas as well. So there won't be anything opposing. So then there is one track mind उधर आ जाता है.
But
I
I
mean,
think on a brighter, yeah, yeah, go on, go on.
I mean, see, I completely understand it, because I have also read that law, and read the general policy traits of Indian professionals or Indian lawmakers looking at mental health. I'm sure out of the MLAs and MPs out there, 75% people are convinced that mental health is not a health issue, right? That's the
Right.
poor situation in India, which we all need to tackle. Yes, Neelika, please.
Right.
Yeah, yes. I was just saying that, I get this, which is why this is something that we've kept for the future. And on the brighter side, I would just say that, the fact that we have so many new mental health organizations coming up. Initially, if someone Googled mental health, you'd probably get like 4 or 5 names. But now we have so many people coming up. If you see, even on Instagram or other social media, like people are sharing these guides of all these resources, and we're very happy to see our names as well. And it's something that Sagar and I personally really believe, is that we don't see other mental health organizations as competition ever, because we believe the more the merrier. So the
Yeah.
more mental health organizations and people advocating for mental health, the more open the conversation is, and the more lives that are getting impacted, and the more help we can give to the people who need the help.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think we have covered almost all the aspects which I wanted to extract from both of you guys. And I don't think so this conversation should stop here, but because of the time constraints, we have to stop it
Yeah.
here. Uh, I need both of you, and I need a promise from both of you that we will be discussing on various aspects of mental health in upcoming podcasts, which where I will be definitely inviting you. This is my word, because we have just covered what Chitta does, but I really want to know more about the mental health space in India and what are the entrepreneurial and policy issues and various other aspects which we haven't even touched right now. But for
Absolutely,
today,
absolutely. I think that makes sense. Just one thing I wanted to add.
yeah,
I think there's. I think now this is my take, my in my limited knowledge, but I always feel there's better policy that's built when there is more conversation around that particular topic. Now, if more people are talking about mental health, there'll be more ideas that will be out in the air. That these bureaucrats, even if there are 9 bureaucrats, at least they know that these ideas exist. So I'm not saying that they will come to Bharat Bhagya Vidhata and look at our ideas. But
yeah,
now, if since they're out in the open, if somebody
yeah,
is a viewer of Bharat Bhagya Vidhata, if they are taking the idea from here and that's being discussed, that's how ideas get circulated.
right.
And I think better ideas make better policy. So that's something that I truly believe in. So I'd be looking forward to those invitations as well for sure.
Definitely, definitely. And that will be all for tonight. And I personally thank Neelika and Sagar to take out time from their very busy schedule. And I know that they are busy people and join us for, I mean, talking about Chitta. And personally, when even I saw Chitta in first couple of weeks, I exactly did not know what this is, this idea. But the more I looked at the project grow, the more I looked at which direction you were going, I was amazed by the creativity of, oh, this also can be done. This can be also the approach towards mental health. And I really want to congratulate because you when you see people who are young and who are doing very nice, but you really don't know them. They are like the distance TEDx people who are just standing on the circle and we are just sitting and oh, this is inspirational. But when your friends do it, it's more inspirational. It really pushes you to do better in your personal life. And I really want to thank you apart from coming here, but you're also inspiring me. You do both personally inspire me. And I will be looking forward to more such sessions.
Very humbled by that. Very
Yeah.
humbled by that compliment. I'm very sure me and Nalika will feel like a fraud the minute we end this call.
But yeah, definitely, like, thank you so much for having us and for giving us the platform to explain and to open up the conversation, because I'm at the end of the day, this initiative, your podcast, is also something that's to be commended, because you're opening the conversation, you're giving us the platform to inform people, so that's equally important. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And with this, I think we'll take a leave for all our viewers. Thank you for joining us, Nilika. Till next week, viewers. Jai Hind.